Let's do a quick compare and contrast between Filevine and Needles law firm management software. So basically, when we think about Filevine, we think about Needles. Of course, we're speaking about law firm management software, but there is a level of granularity for each software. In today's conversation, I want to really go into that level of granularity. So here's an overview I want you to pay attention to. So basically, Needles, for all intents and purposes, is more expensive to implement than Filevine, and Filevine is rated higher than Needles when it comes to certain features. Okay, but I'll go more in details here. So when we talk about more expensive, we're speaking about the total cost of implementation, the total cost of let's say onboarding. Okay, the TCO. It's really important to have that. And Filevine actually offers the users more features. So we're speaking here about 9 features, 9 prominent features. Then Needles that has about 5 to 6 prominent features. So this is kind of important. Now, one might say, well, Filevine really wins this battle, but not so fast. Not so fast. I'll really go into detail to explain to you what categories does Filevine win at and what categories it does lose at. It's really important. So when you think about Filevine rather lets you communicate clearly without actually interrupting each other's workflows. So you can share and edit documents, you can assign tasks, and you can connect calendars to stay in sync and on time. Really important. This duality is important, to stay in sync and on time, especially when you work in a collaborative environment, when you have multiple lawyers actually working on multiple cases from multiple jurisdictions. So that's for Filevine. What about Needles? Needles case management. So basically, with Needles, you are able to insert efficiency into your law firm operations. Okay, and you are able to through Needles, you're able to look at your existing data and see how you can improve it, how you can foster camaraderie across multiple teams, how you can also foster productivity across multiple teams. So basically, in terms of efficiency, you really have a great partner in Needles. So this is really great. What we love about Needles is that Needles also has decades of experience. We're talking about many decades of experience. So this is kind of cool. Boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. Let's talk about affordability. So who is more expensive, or what is more expensive, Filevine or Needles case management? Now, so I was talking to you earlier about the fact that if you just look at let's say general pricing, one might say that basically Needles is more expensive than Filevine. Okay. Now, when we talk about TCO, so when we analyze affordability, we'll look at total cost of ownership, right? So this is basically includes not only the subscription fees, the software license, but you got to think about other ancillary costs as well. So whether you go with Needles or with Filevine, you got to think about the software training, customization, hardware if needed, maintenance and support, and other related services. Okay, in addition to the software license and subscription fees. So it's important to really always pay attention to those hidden costs. And what I want to say is that when you think about Filevine, or you think about case like Needles and Filevine, they both do not publish their pricing. They want you to contact them. They want you to really, because it's just a way for them to actually get lead data. So they want you to contact sales, and you are able to actually talk to someone and get all the information that you need to have. Now, even though they don't publish their pricing, we were able to find information about their pricing. So the thing is that on a scale of 1 to 10, Filevine is rated about 2, which is much lower than the average cost of legal management software. And Needles actually is rated 1 to 2. So Needles actually for Needles, the pricing start at about $85 to $100 per user per month. And so this is really something to really think about. And for Filevine, you are looking at $65 to $75. So this is what we were just saying, that if you just look at the pricing, Needles is more expensive to implement than Filevine. Again, more expensive to implement, not just the subscription fees. Okay, very important to remember. One thing I want to say here is that Needles actually, Filevine cost is around the same cost of Needles case management. When you actually think about third-party plugins, for instance, CRM or accounting or document automation, but it's one of those things where you have to contact Needles or Filevine to have more information. Boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Filevine versus Needles legal case management. Let's talk about features here. So, which software includes more features, better features? Let's have a conversation about that. So, when you think about Filevine, you got to think about version control. You got to think about collaboration. You got to think about document management. You got to think about task management, document assembly, document indexing, document tagging, and time tracking. When you think about needle case management, you got to think about version control, collaboration, document assembly, document indexing, document tagging, task management, and time tracking. Okay, it's really important to understand that when it comes to features, they're pretty much the same, right? But the thing is that needles case management seems to have a more robust ecosystem of primary and secondary features when compared to Filevine. And because Needles case management seems to be an all-in-one solution for case management, it's one of those things where we love the fact that you are able to scale over time with Needles. I mean, the situation is kind of similar to a Filevine also in terms of scalability. It's just that when it comes to features, as of the date of this show, Needles case management happens to have more features than Filevine. What about the target customer size? So, Filevine legal management software is typically used by law firms, in-house legal departments, and other legal professionals. And Needles case management's target customer size includes startup, small business, medium business, and large businesses. So this is you can see that in terms of you can see which software really will appeal to you depending upon your situation. So is your law firm small? Is your law firm mid-size? Is your law firm large? Is your law firm a startup? Are you a solo practitioner, for instance? Okay, and so what we have seen in our research is that Filevine and Needles are both compatible for solos. So this is kind of cool because some law firm software tools are not applicable to solos, but in this case, Filevine and Needles are pretty compatible. So that's not a problem in terms of pricing, as long as you can afford 65 to 85 bucks a month minimum, you are good to go. Let me talk to you about the specs here, and I would really want to go a little granular here so we have a clear idea what we're getting ourselves into when we actually choose Filevine over Needles. Okay, so I want to speak first about Filevine. So when you think about Filevine, I want you to think about a cloud-based legal management software that allows its users to keep track of the source of client leads, set out intake scripting for new leads arrival, and assess marketing expenditure, among other things. Okay, and so when you think about Filevine, I want you to really focus on strategic planning, reporting, communications, and case management. Let me go a little granular here. When we talk about strategic planning, Filevine gives you the intel, if you will, and the processes that will help you sort of plan better. So you can plan like within your law firm, you can actually plan your human capital better. So in other words, what cases you associate, what cases you allocate to certain lawyers based on their expertise, for instance, based on their previous case history, okay, and or even previous case performance, you are able to manage matters more efficiently. So this is kind of cool in terms of strategic planning. Reporting is also a biggie within Filevine because in Filevine, what we love is that we love the granularity, the detail, if you will, the depth and breadth of the reports. Okay, and so those are pretty nicely packaged. This is kind of cool, and you can see that Filevine's engineers have actually worked a lot on the user experience and user interface. Communications also are pretty prominent within Filevine. Communication not only in terms of all the different stakeholders, outside stakeholders, clients, co-counsel, but also internal stakeholders. For instance, communication among team members, among attorneys, among associates and lawyers, among partners and associates, and so on and so forth. And also, case management is also prominent within Filevine because when we talk about case management within Filevine, we're speaking about the historical nature of the case management. We're speaking about the granularity of the case management. Which lawyer is really focusing on a specific case. So the level of granularity here is really important. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Filevine versus needles. Now, I want to talk to you about needles case management. So this is a very important. When you think about needles case management, I want you to think about a legal management software tool designed to help law firms and professionals deliver outcomes with client cases. So when you think about needles, think about a larger sort of a larger customer base. Outside law firms, you have the legal departments of corporations or companies, or regular companies. You have court administrators. You have legal researchers. You have folks in academia. So you have a larger customer base, really. So when you think about needles case management, think about categories such as billing and invoicing, case management, of course, expense management, calendar, and email. Let me go a little deeper here so we all understand. So billing and invoicing is kind of cool because you really want to focus on revenue generation, right? So your lawyers are working their butt off, if you will. They basically need to be compensated and be pretty well compensated. Okay, it's one of those things where if you can't track revenue, if you can't track billable versus non-billable hours, you're not going to survive as a law firm. I don't care how large your law firm is. Okay, and also when we talk about case management, it's one of those things that sort of relates to what I said earlier. You want to look at the historical aspect of things, of cases. You want to look at matter management, case management. So you want to look at matter management in conjunction with case management. You want to look at jurisdictional, I would say, admissibility. That we really pay attention to that. And also, so you also look at the timing of your compliance strategy. And when we talk about expense management, this is another element within Needle's legal case management that allows you to really have a clear idea about your internal expenses. Here we are speaking about your law firm's P&L, right? Profit and loss, especially your operating expenses. The calendar feature within Needles also is just really fantastic. It's really efficient. So not only in terms of managing cases, managing matters, but also making sure that your attorneys are on schedule when it comes to starting their litigation process. And also email is also a great feature within Needles. Let me talk about pricing here. So the thing is that for Filevine or Needles, as I said earlier, you do not have transparency over pricing. So you can't really get a price about each software online. You have to contact the company and they'll have to onboard you. They have to try to convince you. They take your data, blah, 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 blah. So it's one of those things where if you don't have transparency, then you have to make a decision as to what really matters to you, right? And so when you think about Filevine, as I said before, Filevine is on a scale from 2 to 10. Filevine is around 2, and they charge you like 65 all the way to 75, in some cases $85 per user per month. And but Filevine is actually better for small, medium, and large size businesses. So you do have a large constellation of clientele here, and you have platforms such as desktop, mobile, and cloud that can accommodate Filevine. So this is really great. So Filevine can be a cloud-based setup. You don't have to be in the office to use the tool. And so at the end of the day, when it comes to Filevine pricing, it all depends on what you really want from the platform. Okay, so if you basically want to have automated workflows, for instance, unlimited document storage, you want to have guest access, you want to have task management, calendaring, you want to have secure sharing links, you want to have a customer report builder, you really have to see what really works for you. And based on what you need, you will need to actually contact Filevine, and it will give you a custom quote. So you will get a bespoke price based on your needs. That's for Filevine. What about Needles? So with Needles, the pricing again is kind of similar to Filevine. In other words, it is around 2 to 3 on a scale on a 1 to 10 scale. And so Needles also want you to contact them. and everything again is kind of similar to what the Filevine wants. In other words, your your custom price will depend on the features that you really need. Okay, if you want to have automatic timekeeping, for instance, you want to have activity feed management, you want to have comprehensive document management, you want to have settlement calculator, you want to have integrations, and you want to have access to the new product called Neos AI. That's the artificial intelligence coming from Needles. So those are things you really need to pay attention to and see, okay, if you need those, then you might need to actually pay a little more to Filevine. But the good thing is that you have Neos, they have their email and their phone on their website. So you can contact them. This is really cool. Let's talk about the value added here. So when we think about Filevine versus Needles, I want to first start with the Filevine, and I want to look at the features to really bring a value to Filevine. First of all, you have version control. This is really cool within Filevine. You are able to basically go from one version to another and really track things over time. You have collaboration. This is fantastic also for very busy law firms, and also if you have lawyers who are working in multiple offices, including working from home. If you have, so this is kind of cool. You have also document management. So this is an important feature within Filevine that allows your lawyers to actually work efficiently. You have task management also. You have document assembly. Document assembly is kind of cool, especially when it comes to what we call jurisdictional evidence gathering, if you will. You also have document indexing. This is an important element also when it comes to evidence gathering. You also have document tagging. This is another great tool that we love a lot. And time tracking, of course, is kind of important. I think I've mentioned this before. When it comes to billable versus non-billable hours, everything revolves around revenue generation and the sustainability of your law firm. Okay, and for your law firm to be sustainable, it got to generate revenue on a consistent basis. You also have to think about contract management. So contract management is kind of cool also when it comes to like looking at the most important features within Filevine. So that's for Filevine. What about Needles case management? So the features within Needles, you have they're pretty similar. You have version control, you have collaboration, you have document management, you have document assembly, you have document tagging, you have time tracking. The thing about Needles is that even though it has relatively fewer features than Filevine, it's constantly adding new functionalities all the time. On top of that, Needles has a more robust sort of CRM capability, a more robust CMS capability, or a more robust integration capability. All the things that I'm telling you, CMS, CRM, and so on and so forth, you basically can either get it natively through Needles or through a third-party API, like through a third-party plugin. And so they have an open API as well as a closed API, depending upon the client, but they are able to actually integrate all kinds of third-party apps through their API. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was doing a quick Filevine versus Needles compare and contrast. So I gave you the overview, the affordability, the features, the specs, the pricing, and the value added. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.